In a time when manufacturers see very little value in offering small cars in their lineup, while simultaneously having Americans looking for affordable transportation, and they don't care how they get it, whether it is a sedan, hatchback, or subcompact crossover, you have Kia giving the people what they want. An affordable car coming in under $30,000 and a sedan that just might be a great practical and family-friendly choice for those of you on a budget. For 2025, Kia has dropped the Forte nameplate and given us this new K4 that just might be bigger and better than its predecessor. In today's video, we're going to check out what the K4 has to offer. We're going to check out the exterior, the interior, take it out for a quick test drive, and see why. If you are someone on a stricter budget, you want a car that comes in under $30,000 and you also want a sedan that is going to be tech-filled, then maybe taking a look at the 2025 Kia K4 might be a great decision. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Gervais Kia in Lowell, Massachusetts for letting me come down here to check out the Kia K4. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Kia inventory. So as always, let's begin with that pricing. For the 2025 Kia K4 we have today, this is the EX, coming in at just under $24,000. For reasons that we'll discuss later on in this video, the EX trim out of the 5 trims available for 2025 is the way to go. Now, you could look at the GT line and GT line Turbo as being better choices if you are looking for an engaging daily driver. And then for those of you on a very strict budget, the LX might be appealing at around $22,000. However, for $2,000 more, you get the Kia K4 EX, which is very well equipped, has a good amount of technology, and then of course it comes back to the creature comforts and amenities that makes this a great daily driver for you and your family. With the K4 though, it's going head to head with some titans in this market, going head to head with the Honda Civic, the Toyota Corolla, the Volkswagen Jetta, and design-wise it is quite unique. Doesn't look like any other competitor in this market. For one, you have cladding around the wheel arches and the rear bumper, making it look somewhat crossover-like. And then you also have a fastback rear fascia, which isn't very common anymore in this market. We saw it all the time in the late 2010s and very early 2020s, but a lot of manufacturers and a lot of designers have moved on from this look. Now, is that a bad thing? I don't think so at all, because with that fastback design, you are going to have better practicality compared to a Civic or Corolla. Now also, like we talked about before, for 2026, you will have a hatchback. So Kia is trying to maximize the practicality out of this platform and for a small sedan in this price point. So as you make your way towards the front fascia, you are going to have full LED headlights and LED daytime running lights in that amber color, which at this point is a signature look from Kia. We're seeing a lot of this from the product line, and not a lot of manufacturers provide amber daytime running lights in this market. But going with the EX, you are going to have some brushed aluminum accents for the lower portion of the front bumper and also outlining that front grille, which I think looks a bit better here in this market and gives you some refinement to the overall design of this car. Also for the lower portion of the front bumper, you had that cladding once again, which is a bit of a surprise for a sedan at around $25,000. Then as you make your way over the side profile by going with the EX, you're going to have those 17-inch alloy wheels in a machine finish, which I think looks really nice. The wheel package alone for the EX is a huge upgrade over the LX and LXS. This would be the way to go. It makes the car look like a $30,000 sedan rather than $25,000. Also, you will have that cladding once again. We have to take note of that because that is quite unique in this segment. Now, you are going to have body color match side mirror caps, but no turn signal indicators, which I'm not surprised by at all. But with the EX, you will have blind spot detection for added safety. Then as you make your way around to the back, aside from the fastback rear fascia and very thick C-pillars for this car, highlighting this model is the full LED taillights. That is right. LED lighting for the front and rear fascias for a car at around $24,000. That is huge. Not a lot of manufacturers give you that at this price point, so I think a lot of you are going to appreciate that here. For the lower portion of the rear bumper, you're going to have that cladding, which really isn't surprising anymore from Kia because they love using this type of accent on their vehicles, whether it's a Sportage or EV6. So I shouldn't be surprised that's also on the K4, but in my opinion, kind of looks a bit tacky. Now, no surprises though, you're not going to have visible exhaust outlets. That will be tucked beneath the bumper for that cleaner appearance, but overall, I like what the K4 is offering here aesthetically. I think it looks futuristic, it looks fun, it looks engaging, and I think also more importantly, it looks unique. Powering the Kia K4 we have today is a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, producing 147 horsepower and 132 pound-feet of torque, and it is paired with Hyundai Kia's version of a CVT. Those numbers are not going to be exciting. This car is solely for its practicality, its efficiency, and also its affordability. So there is going to be one sacrifice here. Although for those of you looking for a fun daily driver with a GT line turbo, you're going to get a 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, producing 190 horsepower and right around 195 pound-feet of torque and an 8-speed automatic transmission. That might be the way to go. But for what we have here with the EX though, I think a lot of you are just looking for the intangibles, and it does a pretty good job in that regard. For fuel economy, you're looking at right around 29 miles per gallon in the city and 39 miles per gallon on the highway, which is pretty impressive for a car that does not have a hybrid powertrain available for 2025. Also, another thing to keep in mind here, if you are looking at buying a car under $30,000, the K4 does not provide all-wheel drive. That is not an option here, so front-wheel drive only. But for those of you looking for affordable transportation, this might be all you really need. Hopping inside the Kia K4 EX, you are going to receive premium cloth seats for both the driver and passenger. Now, they're both manually adjustable, and probably more surprising is that for the EX, you don't get heated front seats. Some manufacturers do offer that at around $25,000 or $26,000. So you might have to go a little higher up in the trim levels for the K4, or possibly just go with a K5. Now, the difference in quality between the LX, LXS, and then the EX we have today with the premium cloth upholstery isn't going to be vast or large, but for a car around $25,000, it's offering the minimum requirements here for a vehicle at this price point. Bolstering is pretty good here, so I don't think you'll be swaying around in these seats when you are on a winding back road. Also, I do think you're going to feel quite snug here, being behind the wheel of the K4, very similar to other vehicles in this market. I will say, though, that aesthetically speaking, when you hop inside this car for the first time, it does look quite nice. And again, you're looking at a car under $25,000. What you have here is a full digital gauge cluster, nice infotainment system, and you still have physical buttons on the dashboard. This is a nice balance of having more of a tactile experience and also more of this digital tech that we're now seeing in a lot of cars now, even under $30,000. Now, obviously, you are going to have hard touch plastics on the dashboard, on the door panels, and the center console. That's to be expected here. This is not going to be a premium car by any stretch of the imagination. However, comparing this to the LX and LXS, you're getting a lot more, such as dual zone climate control. You have a full digital gauge cluster. Also, you are going to have climate control settings in between your digital gauge cluster and infotainment system. A lot of this we did see in the Kia EV9. So you can take that either way. You can say the EV9 is probably a bit too cheap for a vehicle at around $70,000. Or you could say the K4 at $25,000 with the EX is actually giving you quite a bit here. Now, in front of you will be a Syntex wrapped steering wheel, which feels really nice in the hands. Firm 9-3 grips, aggressive 10-2 grips, and it's flat bottomed and flat topped, which we're seeing a lot of now from Kia. Now, you're going to have the same button layout that we see across the entire product line from Kia. So on the left side of the steering wheel, you will have buttons that will control your digital gauge cluster. This is not going to be super in-depth, nor is it going to be intuitive, but it will offer some information here that pertains to the driving experience and maybe information that you find relevant. Also, from here, you will have a drive mode selector, so you can scroll between normal and sport. No eco mode. I'm a bit surprised by that. Also, you're not going to have a terrain management system since you don't have all-wheel drive, nor is this an off-road worthy vehicle. Then for the user interface itself, this is a 12.3-inch touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility to go along with a wireless phone charging pad. So again, a lot of amenities here for a car at this price point. Now, this user interface is the exact same setup that we see in the EV9, EV6, and also the Kia Sportage. So very straightforward here. I don't think it's going to be too difficult to get used to if you are hopping in from, say, a Kia Forte. From here, all your widgets will be in place for your phone projection, valet mode, vehicle diagnostics, service maintenance notifications, online manual, and setup. When you press down on setup, now you have more sub-menus to scroll through. But it isn't confusing, it's very cleanly laid out, and I do think compared to the older infotainment systems from Kia and Hyundai, the resolution, quality, and responsiveness is just a little bit better. When placing the Kia K4 in reverse, you are going to receive a rear backup camera forward trajectory. Also, I think the resolution again is pretty good here for a car at this price point. You're going to have a multi-angle view as well, giving a 180-degree view, and also I like to call bumper cam, because you're not towing anything here with the K4, so that when you are backing out of a tight spot on a city street, you're not bumping into the car behind you. So a lot of visibility here, a lot of safety more importantly. Now, as you make your way down towards the center console, just beneath the screen, you are going to have physical buttons and quick access icons for your home, map, search, media, favorite tab, and setup. So if you don't want to use the touchscreen solely, you have those physical buttons for quick access. Then also you will have your vents here, and then you have your buttons for your dual zone climate control. For the center console itself, you will have two USB-C inputs, a 12-volt outlet, your wireless phone charging pad, and then for your gear selector, traditional. Also, not a lot of gloss black trim, which is great to see. You have a push button start as well. So again, for a car around $25,000, doesn't feel cheap at all here. You will have your auto vehicle hold and then the button for your camera systems. You can have two large cup holders here, where if you're not using them for storing drinks, you could probably have your iPhone or wallet here for safekeeping. And then for the center storage compartment, there's enough room for some smaller items, maybe a couple wallets, smartphones, or other tech gadgets, but that's basically it. And then lastly, to round out the front seating area, with the EX, you don't get a power moonroof, but hey, you can't have it all here for a car under 25 grand. Now for passengers in the second row, much like we have seen numerous times in the Kia product line, we have a lot of legroom here with the K4. You're looking at right on 38 inches of legroom, which is class leading in this market. To put that into perspective, 38 inches of legroom would be on par with a Honda Accord, Toyota Camry, Nissan Altima, vehicles that are much larger than what the K4 is offering here, making the K4 very versatile, flexible, and family friendly. Now, of course, since you have a sedan, you have that lower roof line, so I think taller passengers will be hitting their head on the headliner. But legroom-wise, even shoulder room-wise, they're not going to feel claustrophobic or cramped in here. Now, I do think it will be quite the squeeze trying to fit a third person in the center, because you are going to have an aggressive center hump. But that's to be expected here. This is a K4, not a K5, not a Kia Sportage. So if you're someone looking for a sedan, but you also want a car that still gives you practicality and is also going to be sizable for you and your growing family, the K4 is going to make a lot of sense in that regard. Now, unfortunately though, with the EX, even for a mid-trim for 2025, you're not receiving a lot to work with here, aside from two USB-C inputs. So no center-mounted air vents, giving you better airflow on this very hot day. I am dying back here. But aside from that, I can't complain at all about this car. Returning to the rear fascia for the 2025 Kia K4, the amenities and also the selling points just continue on here. So let's press this little button here that opens up the trunk, and inside, behind the second row seats, you're looking at right around 14.5 cubic feet of room. Now, compared to sedans in this market, that outclasses the Volkswagen Jetta, the Mazda 3, and Toyota Corolla. So if you don't want a hatchback and you don't want a subcompact crossover, well, the K4 is a great alternative. On top of all of this, you do have a spare tire beneath the floor mat. So that way, if you do encounter a flat on those road trips or travels, you can fix that and be back on the road. Now, if you don't think 14.5 cubic feet of room is enough for you, well, you're in luck, because you also are going to have a hatchback coming very soon. So this car is offering a lot to work with here for a sedan under $30,000. Obviously, you can lower the second row seats to maximize that cargo space, but I do think that if practicality is what you're looking for, wait for that hatchback or just go with the crossover. But either way though, for a car at around $25,000, you can go on those road trips, you can store 8, 9, 10 bags of luggage, and this versatility right here, along with its affordability, makes it a great choice alone in this market. But what about the driving experience? So far, I have really enjoyed my time with the 2025 Kia K4 today. I have been genuinely surprised with what this car is offering under $30,000, heck, under $25,000. The ergonomics of the interior with physical buttons on the dashboard, the full digital gauge cluster, a nice infotainment system. For a car at $25,000, this is really impressive, and also I think it's a great value. Also, of course, pair that up with the overall practicality and interior space. For someone on a very strict budget, the K4, I think, is a great contender in this segment. For the on-road driving experience, though, this is where the K4 exhibits a big weak spot, especially compared to its closest rivals, like the Honda Civic, like the Volkswagen Jetta. Maybe not so with the Toyota Corolla, because the Corolla is getting up there in age, and you'll feel that with that platform. However, with all that being said, for the K4, this car solely benefits from a fantastic platform and chassis. While this car is not sporty, engaging, or quick by any stretch of the imagination, it's refined, it has a lot of rigidity, and it does feel really nice for a car under $30,000. You go over the bumps and imperfections and you don't feel it, the vibrations don't really translate to the interior or with the steering wheel, and also the interior insulation is pretty good here for a car under $25,000. Yes, with the GT line, you get acoustic glass, you also get acoustic tires, but I don't even know if that's worth it to spend around $27,000 and going in that direction. With the steering input, whether you're in sport mode or just comfort, it's decently weighted, gives you some aggressiveness to the steering input and the cornering ability, and there is somewhat of feedback here. Now again, don't take all that out of context. This is not going to be like a Volkswagen GTI. This is not going to be like a K5 GT. So keep all of this in mind and temper your expectations. But for a daily driver under $30,000 that is going head to head with some titans in this segment, like that Civic, like that Corolla, I feel like the K4 can really hold its own here. Well, you have an underpowered 4-cylinder engine and basically a CVT. There's not a lot of droning. You don't hear this engine at all. And I'm really impressed here. I'm impressed with what Kia has done. Now, obviously, with this replacing the Forte, I think for enthusiasts, the Forte GT was probably going to be a better choice, especially with a manual being optional. Whereas I think what Kia is trying to do here with the K4 and possibly even the K5 is to take advantage of the fact that there's not a lot of affordable cars right now in this market, and heck, in the automotive industry in general. And by giving you a car that is small but also practical and family friendly, it just doubles down on the fact that this car is a great value. So getting on the highway here in sport mode, and it does a pretty good job. Does a pretty good job getting on the highway. Now at highway speeds, interior insulation once again is rather surprising. Now despite the fact you don't have a sports tuned suspension, I do feel connected to the roadways. I feel connected to the car as well. And again, that comes back to the platform and chassis. That's one of the strong suits for the K4. Which is why not only the K4 but also the Elantra are held in high regard. And I think that yes, power output, very low, doesn't seem fun. But when you look at what this car is offering as a daily driver, the intangibles, the refinement, the rigidity of this chassis, you can kind of overlook the flaws. And when you start getting into the EX GT line trims, now you're receiving, I think, a lot of value. You're receiving a lot of creature comforts and amenities that I think makes it a better buy on the higher end. Personally, like I said before, I'd say just overlook the LX and LXS and go for the EX at around 25 grand. So while we're at this red light, might as well go over the interior layout and overall vision that we have here to work with. Now you have a nice panoramic view. A-pillars are really not that aggressive, so I don't think you have any blind spots when you are approaching intersections or red lights. Taking a look at your side mirrors, they are decently sized. I can see what's my blind spots and the lane next to me. And then looking out back, because we have that fastback rear fascia, it's almost hatchback-like, so I can see what's directly behind me. So a lot of visibility here, great to see. Now, seat positioning-wise, unlike most sedans in this market, I do feel as though I'm sitting on top of the chassis rather than being a part of it, and that's to be expected with this car not being sports tuned. So if you're looking for that, I would say go with the GT line, because you got the multi-link rear suspension. You're going to have a car that feels a bit more aggressive and sports tuned. Also, of course, go with the GT line turbo to have a bit more fun, and that 8-speed automatic. But what we have here with the EX, I think, is more than enough. I think it's the happy medium, and personally, I think this is the pick for 2025 in the K4 lineup. Again, overlook the LX, overlook the LXS, go with the EX, receive those creature comforts and amenities, giving you, I think, a better deal here in this market. And I think the EX is the strong point in the lineup compared to its closest rivals. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review for the 2025 Kia K4 EX. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys next time.